country and we the people on UST Party Radio.
Welcome to UST Party Radio, God, Country, and We the People, with Bill Gruber and Kaz Taylor.
My name is Bill Gruber with my friend and partner and co-host, Kaz Taylor.
Yeah, I'm here.
And, Kaz, there's a lot going on at Blair House today in Washington, D.C. Regarding the health care.
Yeah.
They may want to rename that the Blair Witch Project. I don't know. Anyway, we've got the special guest today, don't we?
Indeed, we do. Actually, Michael Connolly, he's a retired lawyer who is a professional in constitutional law. Michael?
Well, 2 days ago, I wrote an article about the Obama proposal, his health care proposal, and I put that on my blog because of the fact that I said at that point, after reading his proposal, that this whole summit that he is conducting is a ruse. The idea from the Obama and Democrat standpoint is they're going to bring the Republicans in. I've been watching some of this today. I've been watching Obama lecture the Republicans for not agreeing with what he wants, and basically he's saying, we will accept a bipartisan solution to the health care as long as we propose a solution and you be bipartisan and agree with us.
Right. Well, didn't they before the summit, they actually went out and they actually proposed a brand new bill, didn't they? Instead of withholding that and saying, let's hear what you got, and then we'll just kind of merge them all together. So they certainly did that. Bill and I were coming from different directions. We both mentioned that we had listened to Rush Limbaugh on the radio, and one of the things Rush said that we had to laugh at is, for the first time that I've heard him in a long time, he claims 95.5% accuracy, and he said, my listening audience, I need to apologize to you. I told the Republicans that they really shouldn't have gone, and he listened to this summit. He goes, actually, the Republicans had some bullets in their guns.
Well, they did. In fact, the Republicans are staying on point through this whole process, and the Democrats are pleading to the emotional side of the American people, but the Republicans are staying on point and trying to point out the ridiculousness of the bill in its existing form.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, what are your thoughts there, Michael?
Well, that's exactly what the Republicans should be doing, and that's the good part about this is they are sticking to their guns, and the American people are seeing that they're sticking to their guns. But the reason I say that this whole thing is a ruse is I think that Obama he thought he was going to realize, and the Democrats are going to realize, that the Republicans are not going to fall in lockstep with what they want, particularly the fact that the bill, so much of it is unconstitutional. And I think they're putting this show on and letting the Republicans say their piece, and then they're going to try to make an end run and through reconciliation pass their original bill through anyway. Because basically Obama's proposal is to adopt the Senate bill and to put in some more things that he likes in there, like more tax increases, and there are already 14 taxes proposed in there, and to create, on top of all the other levels of the bureaucracy they create, to create still another level called the Insurance Rate Authority, which would be a federal agency having oversight over how much the health care companies can charge for insurance, take that away from the states. So my fear here is that they have no intention of trying to produce a bipartisan bill. They just are trying to get to a position where they can try to ram this through on their own, and then if they don't get it through because too many Democrats balk, then they're going to scream, it's the Republicans' fault. They were just obstructionists.
It's interesting. One of these senators, Democratic senators, today cited a poll saying what's obviously favored showed that the American people favored the health care bill. And when it became the Republican time to kind of rebut that, I don't recall what Republican senator it was, but he said, taking an average of all the polls that have been taken, it shows clearly that the American public, 55 to 35, disapprove of the bill in its present form. So I'm thinking it's very interesting that this whole challenge is being forced through,
exactly,
even though it's against the will of the American people.
And they're just trying to put a nice little spin on it. But and your input on this too, Michael, and that is, it's beyond a Republican-Democrat issue. The Tea Party, while they favor many of the tenets that the Republican Party does, the Tea Party is not going to go along with this for the ride. So there's a lot of people that are watching this with the critical eyes or being very observant and things like that. And maybe the Tea Party people can actually influence both the Democratic and the Republican Party for rethinking the whole thing. Any thoughts on that, Michael?
Oh, they have to, because I don't trust the Republicans. I don't trust the Democrats. We have some good people up there, but we have a lot of people who are willing to go along just to go along with the idea of being bipartisan. The Republicans have proposed some plans, and some of the plans are pretty good alternatives. Some of the plans, though, border on or go right along with the Democrats in putting more federal control on the healthcare industry. That, to me, is unconstitutional, and I don't care if it's proposed by the Democrats or by the Republicans or by independents. That violates the Constitution. That's why the Tea Party people are so important, because they're not aligned with any political party, and I expect them to put just as much pressure on a Republican senator or a representative as they do on a Democrat if it looks like they're going to go along with something that is clearly going to violate our Constitution and diminish our liberties. And that's what this bill would do.
Michael, do you think that this bill is a fait accompli? Do you think or do you think it will ever be come to the point where it will be torn down and started from the beginning?
I think at this point they are going to make one final push to get it through. Now, in order to do that, they're going to have to do several things. First of all, they're going to have to get the House to basically go along with the Senate bill with no changes, and that avoids the reconciliation process. And they're probably going to have to try to run this thing through the Senate on that basis, or as a part of a budget, call it a budget reconciliation, where they can get enough votes, i.e. 51 votes, to pass it without having to go and get the full 60, which it appears they cannot get at this point.
So what can the Tea Party do right now, right where it stands, as you have just identified? What can the Tea Party guys and gals do right now?
Contact their members of Congress and tell them, we are not stupid. We realize what's going on here, and if this thing comes up for a vote, as it is, or only with with Obama's proposals added to it, we find it unacceptable. We want it torn down, and we want to start all over again with it sometime at a later date. If they contact their members of Congress, and basically, really, if they say, we believe this is unconstitutional, because I don't know if you've noticed lately, but on television and the media, the mainstream media and members of Congress, when asked about the constitutionality of this, they basically look like a deer caught in the headlights.
Yeah, exactly.
They run for cover. They can't respond to it. They don't know how. Of course, some of them probably never read the Constitution. But if they hear from Tea Party members and anybody in the American public, whether members or not, that says, look, I think this is unconstitutional, I want you to vote against it, that is going to register on their Richter scale, particularly if they get a lot of them.
Yeah, or at least in the ballot boxes.
Yep.
You're sounding a little passionate about this. Hey, listen, and you should be, as we are. And I want the word reconciliation has been tossed around today. It's going into reconciliation. Would you kind of explain what that means? I'm not quite sure what that means when they say that they're going to take it into reconciliation. Well,
reconciliation basically is when the House passes a version of legislation, and then the Senate passes a version that is similar to the House, but doesn't disagree on all the points. The normal process, and this is not required, but the normal process has been that representatives of both the House and the Senate from both parties would get together and try to reconcile the two bills. And then once they come up with a final bill, they would then resubmit it to both the House and the Senate for passage. Now, the problem they've got here with the election of Scott Brown, if they do that process, the normal reconciliation process, they're not going to get 60 votes in the Senate on this bill. If they add in House, particularly if they add in House provisions about public option. So what they're talking about doing is having the House pass it just as is, the Senate version, which means there doesn't have to be anything reconciled because it's been passed by the Senate already. Or they're going to go with the provision called budget reconciliation, which if it is attached to a budget bill or called a budget bill, it only takes 51 votes to pass rather than 60 in the Senate.
Well, and Pelosi has said that there's no way this can be reconciled as is. She said that positively, but we shall see, I guess, to be continued. Boy, are we fortunate to have you, Michael Connolly, as our voice of the constitutional law. So thanks for joining us in this segment. You'll be back again and again and again because you're at the focal point of hot stuff.
Well, I appreciate it. I'd love to be back on more.
Michael Connolly, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time around. This is the U.S. Tea Party Radio, broadcasting from WSRadio.com, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.